Welcome. Take a moment. If you're listening to this right now, it's probably quiet around you. Not completely quiet, just quiet enough for thoughts to catch up. There's a feeling many men know well. You wake up, you move through the day, you do what needs to be done, and yet, something feels off. Not broken, just pulled. Pulled by notifications. Pulled by habits you didn't choose. Pulled by reactions that happen before you decide. You might think the problem is weakness, lack of discipline, lack of motivation. It isn't. You were never weak. You were distracted. Distracted long enough that the wheel slowly slipped out of your hands. Not taken from you, handed over. One small moment at a time. Late at night when the screens go dark, there's an uncomfortable clarity. No one is coming to take control back for you. Not your job. Not your past. Not the world. Just you. And the choices you make when no one is watching. What follows isn't about becoming someone new. It's about removing what never belonged in the driver's seat and taking it back. And taking it back doesn't begin with force. It begins with seeing what's actually happening. Your life isn't under attack. No enemy kicked the door in. Nothing dramatic broke all at once. It's being pulled. Pulled a few inches here, a few minutes there. So gently, you barely notice. You wake up and reach for your phone before your feet touch the floor. Not because you decided to, because your hand already knows the way. The morning moves fast. Coffee, traffic, screens. Someone cuts you off. An email lands with the wrong tone. A headline tightens your chest. By the time the day ends, you're tired without knowing what you actually did. Nothing terrible happened, but nothing meaningful took root either. That's how it works. Most men don't lose control through collapse. They lose it through consent. Small permissions, given without awareness. I'll deal with it later. Just this once. I deserve a break. Those sentences feel harmless. They sound reasonable. They are. And that's why they work. The Stoics understood this long before screens and notifications. They didn't warn about catastrophe. They warned about drift. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself not as a ruler, but as a man trying to stay awake inside his own life. He noticed how easily the mind gives its authority away, not to evil, but to comfort, to habit, to whatever speaks the loudest in the moment. Here's the deeper truth most people miss. You are not overwhelmed because life is too hard. You are overwhelmed because too many things are allowed to speak at once. When everything has access to your attention, nothing meaningful can take command. Stoicism doesn't ask you to fight the world. It asks you to stop letting the world grab the wheel. This is the difference. Being attacked would require defense. Being pulled requires awareness. Pulled means you still have leverage. Pulled means your feet are still on the ground. Pulled means you can stop. Think about the moments you feel least like yourself. They're rarely moments of real danger. They're moments of reaction. A comment you didn't need to answer. A craving you didn't question. A distraction you didn't choose but followed anyway. Epictetus put it plainly. You don't suffer because events happen. You suffer because you forget where your power ends and begins. Your power has always lived in a small, quiet place. Not in changing outcomes, not in controlling people, but in choosing what deserves a response. Most men never lose their strength. They just stop guarding it. They give it to screens at night, to irritation during the day, to noise that promises relief but delivers fatigue. And over time, life feels heavy without being meaningful. This isn't a moral failure. It's a mechanical one. A system problem. When attention leaks, identity thins. When identity thins, discipline feels exhausting. When discipline feels exhausting, you assume something is wrong with you. There isn't. The pull can be reversed, not by adding more effort, but by removing what never earned authority in the first place. That's where this path begins. That's where this path begins. Not with tightening your grip, not with clenching your jaw and trying harder, but with understanding one simple thing. Stoicism was never about control. Control is tense. Control shakes. Control breaks the moment something unexpected happens. Command is different. Command is quiet. Think about a man who knows his space. He doesn't rush to speak. He doesn't need to prove he's in charge. When things go sideways, he doesn't panic or posture. He adjusts. That's command. Most people misunderstand Stoicism because they confuse restraint with suppression. They imagine a man swallowing anger, hiding fear, locking emotion behind steel doors. That isn't strength. That's pressure building with nowhere to go. The Stoics never asked you to deny what you feel. They asked you to decide who gives the orders. Picture a moment you know well. You're driving home, traffic stalls, someone honks. Your shoulders tighten before you realize it. The feeling arrives first. That's normal. Stoicism doesn't tell you to kill that feeling. It tells you not to hand it the keys. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Most people read that like a motivational quote. They miss the instruction. He wasn't saying, force yourself to be calm. He was saying, don't confuse the signal with the command. Emotion is a signal. Thought is a suggestion. Neither is an order unless you promote it. Command begins in the gap between stimulus and response. That gap is small. Sometimes just a breath. Sometimes a single pause at the kitchen counter while the coffee brews. In that pause, something shifts. You notice the urge to react. You feel the pull, and you don't move yet. Not because you're virtuous, not because you're above it, but because you're deciding. That's the core of Stoicism, not control over life, command over direction. Epictetus taught that what disturbs us isn't what happens, but the judgments we attach to it. That isn't philosophy for classrooms. It's a field manual. The email didn't ruin your day. The traffic didn't steal your peace. The comment didn't define you. The moment you accepted the judgment did. Most men give their authority away without realizing it. They let irritation set the tone of the evening. They let anxiety choose the next move. They let craving decide how the night ends. And afterward, they wonder why they feel scattered. Command doesn't announce itself. It shows up as restraint that doesn't feel like struggle. A man with command can feel anger and still speak evenly. He can feel tired and still keep his word. He can feel the urge to escape and still sit with himself. Not endlessly, not perfectly, just long enough to choose. This is where Stoicism becomes practical. Command means fewer reactions, fewer explanations, fewer moments where you look back and think, that wasn't me. Over time, something changes. Your presence slows the room. Your decisions get simpler. You stop rehearsing arguments in your head, not because life got easier, but because fewer things are allowed to decide for you. Control tries to dominate the storm. Command sets the sails. One exhausts you, the other steadies you. And once you feel that difference, you stop chasing discipline as punishment. You start treating it as alignment. Because when command returns, so does a sense of self that doesn't need to fight everything. It knows when to act and when to stay still. That's the kind of strength that lasts. That's the kind of strength that lasts. And it shows up in a place most people overlook. Right before the reaction. The pause doesn't announce itself. It's quiet, almost invisible. You feel it in the body first. A tightening in the chest, heat in the face, the jaw setting on its own. Maybe it's a text that shouldn't bother you but does. Maybe it's your kid talking back after a long day. Maybe it's a comment from someone who doesn't know your life. The urge rises fast. Say something. Do something. End the discomfort new. Most days, that's where it ends. The words leave your mouth. The tone sharpens. The night carries a weight it didn't need. But every once in a while, something different happens. You stop. Not dramatically. Not like a movie moment. Just a half second where you don't move. Your hand stays still. Your breath goes a little lower. The room doesn't change. You do. That pause is where command lives. It isn't hesitation. It isn't fear. It's recognition. You recognize the pull. You recognize the familiar pattern, and you don't step into it. The Stoics spoke about this without poetry. They called it the space between impression and assent. What arrives and what you agree to. Most people never see that space. They live on autopilot, believing reaction is honesty. But honesty without direction is just noise. In that pause, something becomes clear. You don't need to win. You don't need to defend. You don't need relief right now. You need alignment. A man I once knew, let's call him David, worked long hours at a warehouse outside Columbus. Good man, quiet, tired most days. One night, his teenage son snapped at him over nothing, a sharp tone, a door half slammed. David felt the surge. The old script was ready. Raise the voice, lay down the law. Instead, he stood there. One breath, then another. When he spoke, it was simple. Go cool off. We'll talk later. No lecture, no explosion. The moment passed. Later that night, sitting alone at the kitchen table, he realized something. He didn't feel proud because he stayed calm. He felt grounded because he stayed himself. That's the difference. The pause doesn't make you passive. It makes you precise. Stoicism isn't about slowing life down forever. It's about choosing when to move. Epictetus taught that no one can harm you unless you give them permission. Not because the world is gentle, but because authority is always an inside job. That pause is permission denied. Denied to impulse. Denied to habit. Denied to the version of you that reacts and regrets. Over time, the pause grows. At first, it's a breath. Then it's a moment. Then it becomes a habit of mind. You start to feel the pull earlier. You recognize it faster. You recover quicker when you slip. And you will slip. The pause isn't perfection. It's practice. Each time you pause, even briefly, you reinforce something deep and quiet. You teach your nervous system who's in charge. You remind yourself that urgency isn't authority. You prove in small ways that you are not owned by the moment. That's how command takes root. Not through force, not through pressure, through a pause so small it feels insignificant, until you realize it changed everything. That pause changes how you see the next step, because once you feel command return even briefly, you start to notice where it keeps leaking out. Not in big moments, in ordinary ones. The late night scroll that goes longer than you planned. The conversation you stay in even though it drains you. The habit that starts as comfort and ends as fog. Each one feels small, but each one carries authority. Every time you follow an impulse without choosing, you hand the wheel away. Not forever, just for the moment. And moments add up. This is where cutting comes in. Not as punishment, not as self-denial, as transfer. Every cut is a transfer of power back to you. Think of it like closing open tabs in your mind. Nothing dramatic happens when you close one. The computer doesn't cheer. The room doesn't change. But the system runs cleaner. Most people think cutting means removing pleasure. It doesn't. It means removing permission. Permission for distractions to decide how your evening ends. Permission for irritation to set the tone of your home. Permission for urgency to pretend its importance. The Stoics were precise about this. They didn't ask, "Is this enjoyable?" They asked, "Is this under my command?" If something consistently pulls you away from yourself, it's already in charge. That's not a moral issue. It's a structural one. You don't dismantle a structure with emotion. You dismantle it with intention. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to ask again and again, "Is this necessary?" Not in a harsh way, in a clarifying one. Necessary doesn't mean pleasant. Necessary means aligned. Aligned with the kind of man you're trying to be when no one is watching. Here's what most people miss. You don't cut everything at once. You cut where power is leaking fastest. Sometimes that's digital noise. Sometimes it's alcohol used for relief instead of enjoyment. Sometimes it's a relationship built on habit, not respect. Sometimes it's the way you talk to yourself. The internal commentary that never stops, always judging, always rushing, always explaining. That voice feels like you, but it isn't. It's just another pattern that learned it could speak unchecked. Epictetus taught that freedom comes from knowing what belongs to you and what doesn't. Your time belongs to you. Your attention belongs to you. Your response belongs to you. Anything that takes those without asking has been promoted too far. Cutting doesn't look heroic. It looks boring. Turning the phone off an hour earlier, leaving a conversation before it turns sour, not replying right away, no announcement, no justification, just quiet decisions stacking up. At first, it feels like loss. You feel the absence, the itch. That's normal. You're not removing the habit. You're removing the illusion that it was helping. Then something subtle happens. Space opens. The evening feels longer. Mornings feel steadier. Your thoughts stop tripping over each other. Not because life got simpler, but because fewer things are allowed to speak. This is Stoic strength in practice. Not domination, not withdrawal, selective engagement. You don't need to harden yourself against the world. You need to stop feeding what weakens you. Each cut is small. Each one is reversible. Each one teaches you the same lesson. Command feels better than comfort. Clarity feels better than escape. And once you experience that trade even briefly, you stop seeing cuts as loss. You see them as reclaiming ground. Quietly, deliberately, one transfer at a time. Once you see power return, you start to notice where it shows up. Not in theory, in places you live every day, at home, at work, inside your own head. At home, it's usually quiet when the test comes. The day is over. Dinner dishes sit in the sink. The couch looks inviting. Your phone is right there. No one would blame you for checking out. You've earned it. That's the story. But you notice something now. Not guilt, just awareness. You notice how often the night ends without you really being there. Body on the couch, mind somewhere else. So sometimes you don't sit down right away. You stand at the counter, you breathe. You put the phone face down. Nothing dramatic happens, but the room feels different. You hear the house again. You feel time slow, just enough to choose. That's Stoic restraint in real life. Not denying rest, choosing presence. At work, it's louder. Emails pile up. Meetings overlap. Someone wants an answer now. The pressure isn't the problem. The reflex is. The reflex to respond instantly, to defend your position, to explain more than necessary. You feel it in your chest when a message hits wrong. You start typing before you finish reading. Then you stop, just long enough to read it again, to ask, what's actually required here? Sometimes the answer is action. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's waiting until tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius wrote about doing only what the moment demands and no more. Not because effort is bad, because scattered effort weakens results. At work, command looks like fewer words, clearer boundaries, less urgency borrowed from other people's anxiety. You don't rush to be seen as busy. You focus on being effective. And inside your head is where the real work happens. That's where habits argue for themselves. That's where old scripts run on repeat. You should be further by now. You messed that up. Why can't you just relax? Those thoughts sound convincing because they're familiar. Stoicism doesn't tell you to replace them with positive ones. It asks you to question their authority. You notice a thought arise. You don't chase it. You don't fight it. You let it pass like a truck on the highway. Epictetus taught that you are not your impressions. You are the one who decides what to do with them. That applies inside your head as much as anywhere else. You don't need to believe every thought that shows up. You don't need to answer every inner accusation. You don't need to rehearse every future problem. Over time, this changes how your mind feels. Less crowded, less hostile, more usable. At home, you're steadier. At work, you're clearer. Inside, you're quieter. Not empty. Quiet. Things will slow down later. You'll get back to what matters when there's time. That time never arrives. This is how drift works. Not through chaos, through comfort. Nothing hurts enough to force a change. Nothing breaks enough to demand attention. So the days keep moving, and you move with them. The Stoics warned about this kind of life more than any external threat. Not because it's painful, because it's numbing. Seneca wrote that people are not afraid of wasting money, but they give their time away without a second thought. Time leaks quietly. 10 minutes here, an hour there, an evening lost to noise. You don't notice it leaving. You only notice when you try to remember where it went. Drift shows up in small choices. You stay in conversations that no longer grow you. You keep habits that once helped, but now just fill space. You say yes out of reflex, and no out of fatigue. None of it feels wrong in the moment. Later, something feels off. You feel less sharp, less patient, less present. You start reacting more and choosing less. The mind grows louder, not because it has more to say, because it's never given direction. This is the cost of unattended authority. When no one is clearly in charge, everything gets a vote. The news sets your mood. Other people's urgency sets your pace. Old habits set your nights. You don't feel enslaved. You feel dulled. That's the danger. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that life is what we pay attention to, not what we intend, not what we plan someday. What we attend to. When attention scatters, life thins. You can feel it in the body, a low-grade tension that never leaves, a tiredness sleep doesn't fix. You can feel it in the mind. Thoughts looping without resolution. Decisions delayed until they decay. And still, nothing is wrong enough to justify stopping. So, you keep drifting until one day, usually quiet, you notice how long it's been since you felt fully here. Not happy, not accomplished. Here. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to clarify you. Drift isn't your destiny. It's the absence of command. And absence can be corrected. Not by burning your life down, not by chasing intensity, but by choosing deliberately to stop letting the days decide for you. The quiet life of drift is common, reversible, and only permanent if you never interrupt it. You don't need a crisis to change direction. You only need to notice where you stop choosing and decide calmly to begin again. And that decision doesn't need a perfect moment. It needs a reset, not a dramatic overhaul, not a new identity, just a way to interrupt the drift and bring command back online. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't wait for life to slow down. They built small practices that worked inside real pressure. Here is one that still holds. It moves in 3 scales: 60 seconds, 10 minutes, 7 days. Start with 60 seconds. This is for the moment you feel pulled. The text hits. The urge rises. The irritation flashes. Don't fix it. Don't explain it. Just name it. Silently. This is anger. This is fear. This is the urge to escape. Then breathe once slower than usual. Feel your feet. Lower your shoulders. That's it. You're not calming yourself. You're reclaiming the right to choose. The Stoics believed that naming an impression weakens its grip, not because words are magic, but because awareness breaks the spell of automatic reaction. 60 seconds is enough to deny permission. Then come 10 minutes. This is where structure replaces willpower. Pick a consistent time. Morning works best before the world gets loud. Sit somewhere simple. No phone, no noise. For 10 minutes, do 3 things. First, sit still. Not to relax, to observe. Thoughts will show up. Plans, regrets, noise. Let them pass without following. Second, write a few lines. Nothing poetic. What's pulling at me right now? What's actually under my control today? What deserves my energy? Marcus Aurelius did this at night. You can do it whenever it fits your life. Third, choose one action that aligns with command. One email handled cleanly, one boundary held, one task finished without distraction. 10 minutes doesn't change your life. It changes your posture. And posture changes outcomes. Now comes 7 days. This is the commitment phase. Choose one thing that's been quietly running your schedule. Just one. Late night scrolling. Alcohol as stress relief. Checking email after dinner. Saying yes when you mean no. Remove it for 7 days. Not forever. Not as a punishment. As an experiment. Notice what happens. The first 2 days, you'll feel the absence, restlessness, boredom, the itch to replace it. Good. That's the habit revealing its cost. By day 4, space opens. Time feels different. Evening stretch, morning settle. By day 7, you'll see clearly. Not whether the habit was bad, but whether it was in charge. Epictetus taught that freedom is practiced, not claimed. You don't think your way into sovereignty. You act your way into it. This reset isn't about becoming disciplined. It's about becoming available to your own life again. 60 seconds to pause. 10 minutes to align. 7 days to reclaim ground. That's enough to feel command return. Not perfectly, not permanently, but enough to remind you of something important. You're not broken. You don't need saving. You just need a few quiet systems that work when motivation doesn't. And once those are in place, the rest becomes possible. And after a while, something settles. Not overnight, not with fireworks. It settles quietly. You notice it in the mornings first. You wake up without that immediate urge to escape the day. The phone stays where it is a little longer. Your breath feels steadier before your feet hit the floor. Nothing miraculous happened. But nothing is chasing you either. At work, the change is subtle. You listen more than you speak. When you do speak, it lands cleaner. You don't rush to prove you're right. You don't feel the need to fill every silence. Deadlines still exist, pressure still shows up, but it doesn't live inside you the way it used to. You handle one thing at a time. You finish what you start. You leave the rest where it belongs. Inside your head, the noise thins out. Thoughts still come. Worries still knock. But they don't camp out anymore. You notice them. You acknowledge them. And you let them pass without turning them into stories. This is what Stoics meant by tranquility. Not a calm life, a calm center. Marcus Aurelius didn't rave about escaping responsibility. He wrote about carrying it without being crushed by it. That's the shift. Quiet strength isn't something you turn on. It's something that becomes familiar. You stop reacting to everything like it's urgent. You stop treating every emotion like a command. You choose where your energy goes. At home, you're more present without trying to be. You hear what's being said instead of preparing a reply. You catch yourself before impatience takes the wheel. When things get tense, you don't escalate. You ground. People notice, but they don't always say anything. They just feel it. There's a steadiness in the room when you're there. Not dominance, not distance, reliability. This kind of strength doesn't look impressive from the outside. It looks ordinary. But it lasts. Stoicism was never about becoming unshakable. It was about becoming harder to knock off course. You still feel disappointment. You still feel anger. You still have days where things don't go your way. The difference is what happens next. You recover faster. You return to center without drama. You don't punish yourself for being human. That's discipline without cruelty. Over time, this becomes your default setting. Not because you're forcing it, because your systems support it. You've cut back what drains you. You've practiced pausing. You've chosen alignment often enough that it feels natural. And when life presses harder, as it always does, you don't disappear into distraction. You stay. That's the quiet win. No one claps for it. No one posts about it. But you feel it when you sit alone at night and your mind doesn't pull you apart. You feel it when you keep your word to yourself. When you end the day knowing you didn't abandon your own attention. This is the strength Stoicism points toward. Not loud, not rigid, grounded. And once it becomes familiar, you stop chasing intensity. You start protecting clarity. Because clarity, held long enough, turns into a life that feels solid under your feet. That's when quiet strength stops being something you practice and starts being who you are. And that's where it comes together, not as a dramatic turning point, not as a promise of a new life, as a simple decision made with clarity. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need a master plan. You don't need to become someone else. You only need to notice where the wheel slipped out of your hands and take it back. Stoicism has always pointed to this moment, not the moment of triumph, the moment of responsibility. Marcus Aurelius never wrote to inspire crowds. He wrote to remind himself quietly that no one else was responsible for his inner life. That's the heart of it. Your attention is your life. What you give it to shapes your days. What you allow to command it shapes who you become. Most people wait for a reason big enough to change. A breakdown, a scare, a loss. You don't need that. You already know where your energy leaks. You feel it at night, in the morning, in the small moments where you reach for something out of habit, not need. So don't start with discipline. Start with honesty. Ask yourself one quiet question. What is one thing that's been deciding for me lately? Not in theory, in practice. Maybe it's the phone that owns your evenings. Maybe it's the conversation you keep replaying. Maybe it's the habit you use to escape instead of rest. Just one. Cut that. Not forever, not aggressively, deliberately, for a week or even a day. When you remove it, don't rush to fill the space. Let the silence do its work. You'll feel the pull at first, the itch, the urge to replace it with something familiar. That's not failure. That's the habit loosening its grip. Stay with it. This is how command returns. Not all at once, but enough to feel solid again. Enough to remember what it's like to move through a day without being dragged. Epictetus taught that freedom is found in wanting what depends on you, not in controlling outcomes, not in managing the world, in choosing your response. That choice is available right now, in this moment, without permission from anyone else. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to explain it. Just make it. Cut one thing. Take the wheel back, not to dominate your life, to steer it calmly, deliberately. If this way of living speaks to you, stay with it. There's more to explore, more to refine. Stoicism isn't a destination. It's a practice that deepens with time. And if tonight, when things get quiet again, you choose one small moment of command over comfort, that's enough. That's how it begins. May you move forward with steadiness. May your attention stay where it belongs. And may your strength remain quiet, grounded, and your own.